Welcome you all to Unveiling the Beloved, part 11, or how do you say that? Do you say part 11 or, well, is that the 11th veil then? Kind of, I don't know. I guess we're like onions, so there's a lot to unveil. So hi Inga, hi Rashid. Hi Jaden Abdullah, welcome you all. I'm going to just repeat for a second what Sára just said and offered. So we're recording the session and her and I, we're pinned, and we encourage you to go to the gallery view to see each and every one of us who's here, because that's the most fun. So hi everybody. Good to see you all. And let's start with some invocations. Invocation by Hazrat Inayat Khan. And I'm going to start in German. And it's in the chat window for you. Hi, Halima. Good to see you. And yeah, I'm going to invite you to just settle in your breath. During the silence for a little moment, a breath or two. Dem einen entgegen, der Vollkommenheit, der Liebe, der Harmonie und der Schönheit, dem einzig Seienden, vereint mit all den erleuchteten Seelen, die den Meister, den Geist der Führung verkörpern. Amen. Sára.
Toward the One, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Amen.
Now let's attune to some elemental breaths as we do, using the words Ya Shafi, Ya Kafi, those twos, Wazaif. Oh, divine healer, divine remedy. And we're breathing in Ya Shafi and breathing out Ya Kafi. The breath of earth, breathing in and out through the nose. Breathing in Ya Shafi, breathing out Ya Kafi, the breath of water, breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. Breathing in Ya Shafi, breathing out Ya Kafi, the breath of fire. Breathing in through the mouth and breathing out through the nose. Breathing in Ya Shafi, breathing out Ya Kafi, the breath of air. Breathing in and out through the mouth. And without any particular concentration on any word, breathing the breath of ether, breathing through the nose, whatever way feels natural for you, just being in the breath, the stillness, breathing, the subtleness. Amen, amen, amen. Let's recite Al-Fatiha. And please forgive me, I'm trying just to recite as good as I can. And as I heard from many people recite this precious prayer of the beginning, and you have a possible translation interpretation of Imam Bilal Haid in the chat window, and the Arabic should be there as well. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghairil maktubi alayhim. Wahla dalin. Amen. Let's also recite the prayer Pir brought by Hazrat Inayat Khan. It's in the chat window for you. Inspirer of my mind, consoler of my heart, healer of my spirit. Thy presence lifteth me from earth to heaven. Thy words flow as the sacred river. Thy thought rises as a divine spring. Thy tender feelings waken sympathy in my heart. Beloved teacher, thy very being is forgiveness. The clouds of doubt and fear are scattered by thy piercing glance. All ignorance vanishes in thy illuminating presence. A new hope is born in my heart by breathing thy peaceful atmosphere. O inspiring guide through life's puzzling ways, in thee I feel abundance of blessing. Amen. Welcome you all again and again. Although to those who just popped in, welcome to Unveiling the Beloved 11. Love, 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 only love is our theme today. And I was wondering how to start on that theme. So should I start by telling you that today, like in a couple of hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours ago from now, 28 years ago, I met my husband on this day. So we have our 28th anniversary today. Should I start with that? Which is not bad, I think, kind of. And it could be a good point to start because in these 28 years, it happened all. All you can imagine what can happen in a relationship happened. The ups and downs and the sitting next to each other on the sofa, being silent for a month or two, not knowing what to say to each other, and still knowing that we love each other. And okay, I'm going to sit here for another month and wait what's going to happen. And I'm so glad I did. And sat there. So this is a good point to start, I think. Then yesterday I saw a post of our beloved friend Jonas, who so gracefully and full of love shared what happened to his family, the miscarriage they went through. And he so graciously and full of love shared the ritual they performed and how they came together as a family and expressed their love for this life. And well, this is a point we could start. The love develops and grows for a being. And then, life happens. And a story came to my mind, which is an old story, and it kind of, especially for this occasion, is a story of a mom who lost her child before the baptizing could happen. So she was not sure what to do. And so she went to the old wise woman in the village. And this old wise woman said, you know what? The next full moon, go to the crossways outside the village and just stay there, be silent and breathe and wait. And she did, this mother who lost her child. And when she stood there to the next full moon, she saw Mother Hulda coming by. And she was accompanied by all those little toddlers and children. And she held out her hand to them and brought them to her garden where they were safe. So what I want to say with that is the mother is taking care of us. Love is taking care of us. And now and then we just need to remember and reconnect in that trust. Well, I can only speak for myself. I have to reconnect in that trust now and then. And these are occasions that help me to reconnect. And thank you for being with us and reconnecting with us into that trust, into that love, and into that beautiful path that we're on. Now, the actual story I wanted to start with was a different one. It was a story of a mother, actually a queen, and she was tired of reigning. She was like, okay, I'm done with that. I reigned enough. Now, where's my son? I mean, there was a prince in the castle, in the palace, and a cat and some other guys flying around. So one morning, this queen, being totally sick of reigning, she ripped off the curtains of that dorm of her son. And she was like, I'm done. I'm fed up. You have to find a princess and you have to marry so you can be king. And he was lying in bed going like, oh God, no, oh, please. First of all, it's early in the morning. Second, I don't know a princess that I haven't met the right one yet. So what should I do? So she was complaining during breakfast, and the whole day long she was like, you have to marry, I'm done, and blah blah blah. So at the end of the day, he was like, okay, I'm going to marry now, but how should I find a princess? So this queen, being prepared, had a list of all the princesses, like all over the world. So she started to phone them one after the other, starting by A, going to B, to C, to so. The day came and all the princesses arrived, one after the other. And the queen and her son, the prince, they were sitting on their thrones. And like the princes appeared from Greenland and from Mumbai and from, I don't know where, from the Netherlands, even they're all married, they came anyway. So, and the prince and the queen, they were sitting there and looking at the princesses. And well, the first princess that came, she came in juggling, kind of to impress the prince, but you could see she was so in love with juggling that the prince thought, no, she let her keep on juggling. The next princess who came, you could see she had the palace cat in her arms, that she was totally in love with that cat and the purring of that cat. So he thought, well, here we go. She needs to be with that cat. And the next one who came in, he immediately saw that she had an eye for the servant who was running around with the drinks, so if she loves him, why should I marry her? So she should marry that guy with that tray of drinks running around. So the end of the day came and there was no princess around. Well, but then it happened, there was one last princess waiting in front of the door. And so that guy with that stick in the hand, I don't know his name, he announced, like, here is Princess Liebegunde, we say in Germany, and her brother, Prinz Herrlich. She brought her brother, this princess. So now, here we go. It happened. Our prince, sitting on his throne, he was looking at that creature and was thinking like, look at that hair. Look at these eyes. Look at those shoulders and those hips. Isn't that a beautiful creature? And that creature over there in front of the throne, on the doorstep, you could see in the eyes of this creature, and the eyes were saying like, what a beautiful prince on that throne. And I tell you what, that prince on that throne was thinking the same thought. What a beautiful prince there in the doorway. Now, it happened, here we go. The prince and the prince, they married the next day and became king and king. And the queen, she was like happily ever after. She was like, sitting there with a glass of champagne in her hands, going like, Alhamdulillah, it happened. And so next day, king and king took over the kingdom, like reigning, doing their stuff. And that queen, she was lying in the pool or nearby the pool, drinking cocktails and just enjoying her life. So that was the first story I actually wanted to tell you. And if I have a minute, I know I'm over my time, but I'm going like, Bismillah, Bismillah, toward the one, united with all, united with all. Bismillah, Bismillah, toward the one, united with all. United with all. Allah, Bismillah, Bismillah, toward the one, united with all, united with all. Bismillah, Bismillah, toward the one, united with all. United with all. Amin. Sára.
Oh, thank you, Khabir. What a perfect introduction. We can go anywhere. That is the purpose, isn't it? To expand the heart and the awareness enough to include and celebrate all the forms of love and happiness and relationship, connection, and the ways that we recognize the beloved that is sometimes unexpected. Thank you. There are so many aspects about love as it shows up in the spiritual teachings and the practices and the prayers and our understandings of ourselves and of the beloved, that especially in Sufism we use that word so much, the beloved. The Zoom didn't freeze. I just wanted to allow this space of the heart and the awareness to invite that ideal, that concept, that image of the object of love, the recipient of love. And also to allow space for what we might call the divine confusion. That is, recognizing, inviting the possibility, if not the belief, that God, in its nature, in its essence, is love. And that each of us, each of you, beautiful friends, are the recipients of that love. It is natural for us to approach the spiritual path and the teachings from our own perspective, to figure out our beloved. For each of us to sit in the question of and look for the recipient of our love. And it is also the deepest longing of the soul to experience herself surrounded by, held in love. In Piro Murshid Hazrat Inayat Khan's prayers, that he offered as part of a daily practice. The morning prayer includes psalm. The morning set of prayers includes the prayer psalm that starts out by saying, "Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being." It goes on from there, but it's so vast, it's so magnificent, where every association of God is something immense and unfathomable and unattainable, but absolutely worthy of and demanding our awe, our admiration, our marveling. But the second set of prayers includes Salat. That's the name of the primary prayer in the midday prayers, Salat. And in the prayer Salat, it goes through, "Let us recognize thee, beloved God, in a loving mother, in a kind father, in an innocent child, in a helpful friend, in an inspiring teacher. Let us recognize thee in a loving mother, in a kind father, in an innocent child, in a helpful friend, in an inspiring teacher." And Murshid said that the prayer Salat should always be included to balance the magnificence of Psalm. That the prayer Psalm is like the sun, that is luminous and powerful and awe-inspiring. But it is beyond our grasp, it is beyond our understanding, and it is beyond our felt experience in our humanness. So the prayer Salat is like the moon, that is responsive, that is awake and receptive within our beings, that we can touch and feel and embrace and integrate and recognize within ourselves and within every other being, within every other manifest, womanifest being. So we fall into this confusion when we go, "I want to praise and worship God who is so immeasurably beautiful. And also, I want to touch God like this. Like, oh, there you are." Right? And each of you. There's a beautiful saying. I don't remember the whole entire story, but there's a lamenting of longing for the presence of the beloved, going, "Well, don't you know that the beloved is all around you all the time? Don't you know that that's what you are?" And the response from this very real humanness is, "Yes, but I want a God with skin on it. I want a God with breath. I want a God with a voice that I can hear with my eardrums. I want a God that I can hold in my arms and be held by." And this is how God is constantly appearing to us, showing herself, interacting with us in her humanness, in our humanness. So there are all of these amazing teaching stories about how we bridge that gap between the omnipotent, unfathomable divine being and the finite, touchable, visceral divine being. And fortunately for all of us, the Sufi path is inclusive of all of these different aspects and experiences, the perspectives, the longing, the unrequited aching, and also the tangible satisfaction and enjoyment, the relishing of the human experience, of the delights, the aspects of life that call our attention and awaken our hearts to love. So let's touch into this simple breath practice that is a Buddhist practice that Murshid Sam, Sufi Ahmed Murad, shared a lot. And we'll go through a series of breaths. First, just noticing what is present within your own breath. Just breathing, observing the breath, knowing that you're breathing. And then breathing a long breath and knowing that you're breathing a long breath. And then for the experience of contrast, breathing a short breath and knowing that you're breathing a short breath. And now breathing a heavy, coarse, rough breath. I hope you're making some gnarly sounds over there, out there in Zoom land. I can't hear you, but I hope they're really gnarly. Okay, now breathing a light breath. And know that you're breathing a light breath. And through those contrasting energies that you can feel and invite into the body, you can find the ideal breath, which is a long, light breath. Breathing in a long, light breath and breathing out a long, light breath. And then using that long, light breath, breathe in all the love you can hold. And breathe out all the love you can give. Breathing in all the love you can hold, and breathing out all the love you can give. And now breathing in all the peace you can hold, and breathing out all the peace you can give. And now breathing in all the joy you can hold, and breathing out all the joy you can give. And continue with that concentration for the rest of your life. sing some love. You don't mind, do you? You knew that was the theme today, right? Okay, we're going to sing lots of Ishq Allah. Ishq is one of the many ways that love is pronounced in Arabic. There are so many ways, but this is one of them. Ishq Allah. And then Ishq Allah, Mabud Allah, which is poetically rendered to mean God is love, lover, and beloved. And I think that works quite nicely. Okay, so this has 3 different melody lines that you're welcome to weave together if you wish. Oh, but we have to be short about it. Here we go. Ishq Allah, 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 if it makes you feel sad and achy, you're doing it right. Also, if it helps you feel warm and squishy and comforted, you're doing it right. Khabir.
Thank you. Let's recite a few times Ishkala, Mabud Hala together. Ishq Allah, Mabud Allah. 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 Hoo, hoo, hoo. I want to let you know that the story I told you is paraphrasing a children's book, King and King. It's a Dutch children's book written in 2000. So just so that you know, and I hope the author isn't here. So when it comes to stories, I'm kind of the guy who considers all stories being Sufi stories because they all have a truth to them, you know, and it might be a different truth for you than it is for me, but that's the way, you know. So and if I'm was looking for stories and I came across some beautiful love stories, you know, so I'm mainly going to tell you some love stories. And even if it's like a prince or a princess and a poor guy or whoever, it's never only about them. It's never only about the prince meeting the prince or the princess meeting the prince. It's always also about becoming whole as the one being that you are, that we are. So it's always a search for the beloved that Sára was talking about. So this is also a little book. It's called So Choose, or So Make a Choice. And it's written by Alexandra Eirich and a guy called Christian K. Meyer Glauninger. So I'm going to tell you this story. Once upon a time, in a country far east from here, there was a beautiful little country with beautiful, large, tall, and green trees of different kinds. Blue creeks and rivers and ponds and lakes. And the wind was always soft. The sky was of a deepest blue, and clouds, if there were any, were of the purest white. The sun was shining bright, brighter as anywhere else on this planet. Many different animals lived in the forests, big ones and small ones. So there were hills also and mountains, and they were covered by snow, and the snow was like shimmering and glimmering in the sunlight. And of course, people lived there, human beings, in like little villages or cities, and they all were very happy in this country and living in this country, which was reigned and ruled by a king. And this king had a beautiful daughter, and they two lived together in a beautiful palace. The palace was of white walls out of marble and had like golden roofs, and beautiful jade elephants were like guarding the entrance of this building. And it was the most beautiful building in the whole country. Well, the most beautiful creature in this whole country was the princess. She had eyes green like the leaves of the trees. Her hair had the color of the sun when it set behind the mountains. Her skin was so smooth and silky as the fresh fallen snow. And her voice was like the song of a bird. Well, her curves were subtle and beautiful as the green hills of the country. And the clothes she wore were bright and colorful like the birds in the trees. And when she was laughing, the people were happy. They were laughing with her. The country, you could say, was mirrored in that princess, and the princess mirrored the country. Well, now the time came that she was old enough to marry, and her father, well, he expressed his wish that she should marry and choose a husband. Now, she was looking around the whole country for a husband, but she couldn't find one. The one was too tall, the next one was too small, another one had too big ears, the next one had a crooked nose, then there was one who was a little bit chubby, the next one was too thin. So she was looking around, maybe for the wrong things at all when she was looking for a husband. But she returned, and what she found in herself was what she expressed toward her father, saying like, I'm not ready to marry. The time has not come for me to marry. I need some more time. Well, and the king said, time is not a problem. You have another 7 days to find the right one. She answered, well, you don't get what I'm telling you. You can't force what time brings and needs to bring. Well, the king was kind of annoyed and replied, you have to, and you are going to marry. If you don't find one, I will find one. Now she replied, Father, I'm speechless that you're not understand my point. Now, it makes me, to be honest, really angry. And I swear to you, from that day on, I will not speak another word. And this is my last word. So the princess fell into silence. And with her, the whole country fell into silence. The birds stopped to sing. The wind wasn't howling anymore. You couldn't hear the slightest noise from a river or a creek. Well, even the snow on the mountains was looking pale and not glimmering in the sun anymore. So the king realized that he had done something wrong. And well, the only thing he could do was to kind of stay to his order and, well, make a step towards his daughter, he said, okay, the one guy that makes you speak 3 times, he shall be your husband. And she, kind of recognizing where her father came from and that she made kind of a strong point there, just nodded with her head. So now you can imagine all people came in, young guys, old guys, trying to make the princess speak. Well, trying to at least get an ah or an oh from her. But she was silent, and she remained silent. One day, there appeared a young guy. He had like a poor clothing and really nothing with him. The only thing he had was a pure heart, and in this heart, the longing for the princess. So he was standing in front of the princess and was saying to her, "You are truly a pleasure to the eye. Your hair is shining and your eyes like the leaves of the trees, your skin like porcelain or alabaster, your waist. I can't stop looking at you. But tell me, dear princess, how are you going to look like when you've given birth to our 7 times 7 children? How will your hands look like when you wash for me and our 7 times 7 children? How will your hair look like when you cook for us? Will you still be this beautiful?" Now the princess, silent. Well, beside the fact that I'm a princess and that I do have servants, who help me with everything that I need to be helped with, where do you think you are taking the right? Who gives you the right to speak? The princess covered her mouth with her hand. And that guy, he said, "Huh, so you spoke for the first time then." And it seems to be right that what they say, and this is a saying in Germany, we have there was friction is warmth, and I believe that this kind of friction belongs to love. To have someone next to you who questions what you're doing, to have someone next to you who is a mirror for you, who challenges you in your thinking and in your feeling. Don't you think so, my dear princess? And he looked into her eyes and he grabbed into his pocket and gave her a little stone. And then he turned around and went away. The princess, she was looking at that stone that she held in her hand, and she realized, oh, that's a flint stone. And she started to smile. And if that guy would have turned around, he would have seen her smiling. Now, he was wandering the world. He was wandering the country up and down, looking for something that could make the princess speak one more time. And one night he had a dream. He had a dream and he heard a lullaby that his mother sang to him. 관세음보살 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 관세음보. When he woke up the next day and kept on walking, he came to that place where they said the ladder up to the sky stood, where Kuan Yin tried to climb into the heavens. And when he stood in front of that place, he knew exactly what to do. And so with that song in his heart, he walked back to the princess. And he told the princess the story of Kuan Yin, who had reached everything on earth and wanted to go into the heavens. And when she grabbed the doorknob, she heard a baby cry and thought, I can't leave this planet as long as one baby cries. And so she came back to earth and stays with us. Now, you see, my princess Kuan Yin, she came back for compassion. And I'm taking a step back and do want to express my deep sorry to you. I guess I went a step too far the first time we saw each other. And she looked into his eyes and said, accept it. So she accepted his apology, you know. So, and when she did, he said, don't be afraid, or don't be sorrow of what you did right now, because forgiving each other is something that is part of a relationship that we need to do to be close to each other. We have to forgive each other. It's part of love. Now, one step separated the two from each other, and he had to go out into the world one more time to find something that makes her speak for the third time. And so he started again to walk around the country and look for that one thing. And then it happened one day, he came to a tree. And underneath that tree, there was sitting a couple, two beings. And you couldn't see if there were a man and a woman and a man and a man, a woman and a woman. You couldn't see it. The only thing you could see was they were as old as time and they were in love. So he stood in front of them and asked, what is your secret? What is your secret of love? And they said, sounding like one voice, going together, going beyond, and keep on going. And he understood and gave his gratitude to this wisdom and turned around and wanted to leave. But they said to him, wait a moment, it's not the words that will make the princess love you. It's the feeling that the words create in your heart. It's the feeling that you radiate when you have the words in your heart. So he went back to the princess, and when he entered the big hall, he was singing to her. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhiswa. And their hands nearly touched, and she said, wait. Now he replied, okay, this was the third time you spoke. And by the order of your father, you shall be my wife now. And she said to him, don't you think this is a little bit too easy? You talk to me about love, and at the end, you just follow the order of a king. This should make equal partners out of the two of us. I guess you've forgotten one important thing. You have forgotten to ask the bride if she wants to marry you. Now, he said, don't you want to marry me? She was thinking for a moment and replied, you've got two possibilities here. The first possibility is, I'm going to marry you and I'm going to be your wife as good as I can with everything that a wife should be, but I will not love you. The second possibility is, You release me. You give me my freedom, and you will have a place in my heart forever. Now choose. And he was looking into her eyes and said to her, I'm not the one to choose. This is your decision to make, not mine. And the princess smiled and said, that's a wise decision. Then this is also a part of love, giving freedom to each other to make your own decision. Now I can marry you and stay with you and love you forever and always. Gate, gate, para samgate, bodhiswaha. 2 minutes.
So beautiful. Thank you, Khabir. There is a beautiful breath concentration that Murshid Tanzan shared, in which we're simply breathing this phrase of Ishq Allah on the in-breath and then breathing out Mahbub Allah. With the awareness that God is all aspects of love, that we are aspects of God, so we are aspects of love. Breathing in Ishq Allah, God is the love. Breathing out Mahbub Allah, God is the beloved. I know I told you with the last concentration that we were going to continue it for the rest of our lives, so we can include this one in there. We don't have to let go of the first one. Okay, here's a passage from Piro Murshid Hazrat Inayat Khan from the Sufi Message, Volume 14, which is called The Smiling Forehead, which is a beautiful name, isn't it? The Smiling Forehead. This is from a chapter called The Heart Quality. And this is just an excerpt from it, not the whole chapter. The Heart Quality. One may ask how to cultivate the heart quality. There is only one way: to become selfless at each step one takes forward on this path. For what prevents one from cultivating the loving quality is the thought of self. The more we think of ourself, the less we think of others. And as we go further, the self grows to become worse and worse. In the end, the self meets us as a giant, which we had always fought. And now at the end of the journey, the giant is the stronger. But if from the first step we take on the path of perfection, we struggled and fought and conquered this giant, which is the self, it could be done only by the increasing power of love. What do I mean by love? It is such a word that one cannot give one meaning. All attributes like kindness, gentleness, goodness, humbleness, mildness, fineness are names of one and the same thing. Love, therefore, is that stream which, when it rises, falls in the form of a fountain, and each stream coming down is a virtue. All virtues taught by books or by a religious person have no strength and life because they have been learned. A virtue that is learned has no power, no life. The virtue that naturally springs from the depth of the heart, the virtue that rises from the love spring and then falls as many different attributes, that virtue is real. How to cultivate the heart quality, to become selfless at each step. The question that continually arises is, what is it that keeps us from opening the heart to being loving, to being selfless? And it always comes down to some forms of protection, of trying to guard some hurt, some perceived weakness, some vulnerability. Cultivating selflessness means that we have to focus on and cherish something beyond ourselves. It means not being afraid of the pain that arises in our life experiences, in our confusions and losses. It means being courageous and trusting the strength and the resilience of the heart, of the spirit. And that's not easy, but it's worth it. And if you don't yet know that it's worth it, go out and fall in love. Go do it. There are many teachings, stories about a potential murid, about a seeker going to a teacher and saying, "Can I please be your disciple? Can I please be your murid? Can I please come and learn with you?" And the teacher saying, "Well, have you loved?" And the student going, or the potential student going, "No, I don't know what that is." And the teacher sends the potential student away and says, "Go fall in love. Come back after that. Because until that happens, there's nothing I can do with you." So here's a practice. Of course, we're going to do it with music because Team Spirit Ruhaniyat, because that's what we do. Because music just cuts through all of our defenses. It's amazing. Music is this magical entity that goes, oh, you're guarded and protected over there. Well, I'm going to go sideways and get through that little crevice that you weren't paying attention to. The music just seeps in past all of our protections. And if you haven't found that yet, I encourage you to explore different genres of music. There will be one that will just break your heart wide open. It's probably Christian rock. It probably is. I know you think I'm joking, but Christian rock for the win. I'm serious. Either that or country music, the twang, like, oh God. Right, I'm mostly joking about that one, but for some people it's true. Okay, so this practice is really focused in a big way on cultivating the qualities of the heart, on inviting and welcoming and asking. I know, Team Spirit Ruhania. Thank you, Mary Ellen, for noticing and appreciating that. So it's true. Okay, I won't talk about it. We're going to sing. Okay, so here's the first set of words. We're going to sing Ya Habib, Ya Mahbub, Ya Muqallab, Al-Qalb. And this really works directly with the heart in all of these different ways. Oh, good, Saeed. I'm so happy to see that. Christian rock is my guilty pleasure, she said. No guilt required, my darling. Okay, so, all right, y'all, quit putting things in the chat window so I can tell you this thing, though I love those things. Okay, so we're going to be saying, Ya Habib. Habib is the lover that is invoking the lover, invoking the giver of love. That is like it's not the source of love, but it's the agent of love. I think that's a good word for it. And then mahbub is a form of the same word of mabud, that is the beloved. So that is the recipient of the love. And then this word you probably aren't as familiar with, muqallab. Muqallab is the transformer, the changer, the shaper of heart. Muqallab. And then al-qulub. And qulub is it's a collective heart, or it's the intelligent wisdom of the heart. So all four of these we're going to work with together. And I invite you to include, to touch into a gentle, simple body prayer of looking to the right as we say, Ya Habib, the lover. Looking to the left, Ya Mahbub, the beloved. Looking up, Ya Muqallab, that is really beseeching that aspect of God that can change our hearts, that can strengthen, expand, open, and make our hearts courageous and resilient. So that's up, Ya Muqallab. And then down into the physical heart space, Al-Qalb. Okay. And then there's a second set of variation on the words, where we'll sing Ya Habib Allah, that is the lover of God. Ya Mahbub Allah, that is the beloved of God. Ya Muqallab Allah, that is the transformer of hearts, that is God. Al-Qalb, Hu, adding this atmosphere of the beloved. So you can, once we have it happen, and you can sing either one of those sets of words that you want. All right. I'll show you my guitar chord hands at least a couple times through. Ya Habib, Ya Mahbub, Ya Muqallab, Al-Qalb, Ya Habib,
Can we just keep on singing this, please? Forever and ever and ever, with all the other exercises and practices forever and ever and ever, including everything to one practice. You know, the one guy that always comes up in stories and who magically kind of receives the kingdom or queendom at the end, whatever you want to call it, are those who are called in the fairy tales in Germany Dummling, which means little stupid one. You know, now what are the qualities of those Dummlings, of these little stupid ones? Most of the time, they're just close to their heart and they're acting from their heart. They're acting from being in the breath. They're not acting from the mind. They're not thinking, what do I have to do? They're just doing it, being connected to their intention, inner guidance. So to prepare ourselves a little bit for that next story, let's sing the first beatitude together, which says in the King James Version, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." In Sadi translated, "Blessed are those who are refined in breath. They shall find their ruling principles and ideals guided by God's light. Healed are those who devote themselves to the link of spirit. The design of the universe is rendered through their form." Those are the words. Tuehun lamaskani baru dilhone malkuta dashmaya. 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 Tuehun lamaskani baru dilhone malkuta Dashmaya Tuehu Lamaskane Baru Delhone Malkuta Dashmaya Tuehu Lamaskane Baru Delhone Malkuta Dashmaya. Though this is a story of a guy who, depending on the point of view, is in his breath, and maybe of a simple mind, whatever that means. He is the son of a restaurant owner, a bar owner. So his father kind of has a good business and owes some money. But this son, though, his name is Hansel, he is just lying around all day long, putting his feet up in the air, and has no interest in business at all. So the only thing he does is taking his dad's money and then going and do some gambling or trying to do a business which never works out the way he thinks it should work out. So I don't know if there is an English word for it. We call them Taugenichts and tu nicht gut. Well, the tu nicht gut some way translates into do not good, tu nicht gut. It kind of is the same sound even. So his father, he was desperate and he didn't know what to do with his son. He needs to learn something. I mean, he needs to kind of get around. So maybe I'll send him away. Maybe he's going to learn something out in the world. Thank you, Radha. Good one. So translates perfect. So this guy, Hansel, his dad, he fills his wallet with some coins and says, well, you need to leave and you need to go out. I mean, at least 7 years, just to, to learn something at least. But before you go, you should go to the priest and do, Sára, we talked about it, your confessions. Is it confessions? Yes. So, okay. This Hansel, he goes to the priest and does his confessions. And I tell you something, it was quite a lot that he had to confess. So what the priest says was, okay, now I have some things that you, and I don't remember the word. Could you help me, Sára? What was the word?
Penance.
Penance. Okay, here we go. He got different penances, and I hope this is the right word, the plural form of it. Well, anyway, so for the next 7 years, he was not allowed to drink wine. For the next 7 years, he was not allowed to eat boiled meat. For the next 7 years, he was not allowed to sleep in a feather bed, in a feather duvet bed. And for the next 7 years, he was not allowed to lay next to a girl. Yep. So Hansel said, okay, will do. And then he went off. And he used the money as he was used to use money. We would in Germany say he threw it out of the window. So pretty soon he was forced to knock on the door of monasteries to get a place to sleep. and something to eat. So one fine evening, it was pouring rain outside. He was standing in front of a monastery and he was knocking on the door. And the mother of the convent, it was a nun's monastery, she was opened the little window in the door and she was looking outside and she was thinking, oh, poor guy, look at him. He's standing in the rain. I let him in. So she opens the door, asks him to come inside. And when he finally got a towel and everything to, get dry a little bit, she came with a bottle and opened the bottle and offered him a drink. And he said, well, I'm afraid I can't take this drink because the priest, he said, like, I'm not allowed to drink wine for 7 years. Now, the mother of the convent, she said, well, this is not wine, this is champagne. Did the priest say something about champagne? And Hansel said, no, not as far as I remember. So, well, here you go. Have a sip of champagne. And so the two said, and had a glass of champagne with each other. And not only one, they had two. Then the mother of the convent went off and came back and had like a tray with meat on the tray, a plate. And Hansel said, well, I'm afraid the priest, he did not allow me to eat boiled meat for 7 years. And the mother of the convent said, but this is roasted meat. Did he say something about roasted meat? And Hansel said, no, he didn't mention roasted meat. So the two sat with each other and had roasted meat and champagne. And it was a really delightful evening for both of them. Now, when it was time to go to bed, the mother of the convent, she showed Hansel a little dorm, a little room with kind of a large bed in it. And when he looked into the room and saw the duvet on the bed, he said, here is another penance. The priest, he said, I'm not allowed to sleep in a feathered duvet for 7 years. So the mother of the convent, she said, but this is a down duvet. Did he say something about downs? And Hansel said, no, not as far as I remember. So this is your room, this is your bed, have a good night and sleep well. She said goodbye, wished him happy dreams, and then he closed the door, he undressed himself, and then he laid into that bed with that down duvet. He was not sleeping yet when he heard a knock on the door, going like, are you already asleep? And it was the mother of the convent, she asking. And he said, no, I'm not. And she opened the door. And now I have to say, and you should know that even with everything she was wearing, she was quite young to be the mother of the convent. And with all she was wearing, you could see she was quite a pretty young woman underneath all those veils of fabric she was wearing. So she said, I'm a little bit cold tonight. And I mean, King Solomon, he said, how should one get warm in the night? It's better if two lay next to each other so they can get warm. So would you maybe move a little bit? And he said, the priest said to me that I'm not allowed to lay with a girl or a woman for 7 years. And she said, well, did he mention a mother of a convent? And Hansel said, no, not as far as I remember. And so, the mother of the convent, she opened the duvet and she laid next to him quite close, so that he was a little bit afraid, but here we go. Now, they had a beautiful night with each other. What they did or didn't do, I have no idea. I leave it up to your imagination. But the next morning, when Hansel woke up, he was thinking to himself, why should I travel around for 7 years if I could stay here? And I mean, I could drink champagne and eat roasted meat and sleep in a down duvet, and this beautiful mother of the convent, she seems to be very nice and she seems to like me. So he asked her if he could stay, and she said, sure. So Hansel stood in that monastery, in that convent, for about 7 years. And then when the day came, he had to go back to face his father and tell him, what development he went through. So he got a nice horse, he got some nice clothing, he had a wallet with some coins in it, and then he went back home, and his father didn't even recognize him. It was his mother who recognized him and embraced him and asked him inside. And so they were sitting with each other, and he was telling them his story and what happened, and they were kind of happy for him. But then his father said, well, now go to the priest and do your confessions, like after these 7 years. And so Hansel went to the priest, and he said, now, did you do everything what I told you, or not do what I told you not to do? So you didn't have wine for the last 7 years, the priest asked. And Hansel said, nope, I had not one sip of wine. The only thing I drank was champagne. And the priest was like, oh, this is the best wine of all wines. How could you? And Hansel was like, well, you didn't mention it. Well, now, you didn't eat boiled meat for 7 years, did you? No, I didn't have boiled meat. I had only roasted meat. That was all I had. Well, Hansel, don't you know that roasted meat is like the best form of meat? Well, you should be clearer of what you're asking from me the next time. Well, then, you didn't sleep in a feathered bed, did you? No, I didn't sleep in a feathered bed. It was a down duvet I'm sleeping in. Oh, Hansel, said the priest, I don't know what I should tell you now. Well, it all shall be forgiven if the last penance you stood true to that one and didn't lay to a girl or woman for the last 7 years. And Hansel was like very proud. He said, nope, I didn't lay to a girl nor to a woman. The only person I lay next to was a mother of a convent. And the priest was like collapsing. He's like, how dare you? How could you? She is like Jesus's sister, and you can't lay next to her. And Hansel, while the priest was going on with his, speech, Hansel was scratching his head, and he was like, did you just say she's the sister of Jesus, which means that he's my brother-in-law now? So you know what? He's going to take care of it all. And so he said goodbye to the priest, and he said goodbye to his parents. And he sat on his horse and went back to that monastery, to that mother of that convent. And she was expecting him and was very happy that he came back to her. We have 1 minute. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie, Kyrie, Christe eleison, Christe, Christe, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie, Kyrie, Christe eleison, Christe, Christe, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Kyrie eleison, Christe, Christe, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Khabir, why are you so delightful? You just make my heart so happy. ah, I was reminded in your story about it was something in the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi that was when he was talking about having made some promise about something that he was going to not eat. I think it was about a food thing. And then someone later in his life saying, "Well, do you want this?" And he says, "No, I've made a promise not to partake of that food." And the person had some argument that was just like what you're describing in the story of like, well, your promise didn't say this thing, did it? Well, and Gandhi's response was, the promise that I made was based on the intention of the promise and not the specific letter of the intention. So that comes back into my awareness a lot, that it's like whatever it is that we're shaping around our own choices and disciplines and the agreements that we make really need to be held in the spirit of the agreement and the heart's intentions, and not with the eye of how can I get around this, or but it's a fun story anyway. I know I just made it serious. Sorry about that. Okay, a few more things about love. Oh, because Khabir, you brought in so many beautiful chants and prayers and mantram from different faith traditions in your stories and songs today. I was reminded of the story that Piro Murshid Inayat Khan tells about how each of us uh, relates to our own experience of the beloved God, of our own God ideal, and how we argue in our humanness about which God is the best God and who has the right God and who has the right religion and the right church or the right temple or the right whatever and the right teachings. And we're so focused on our rightness, aren't we? We're so funny like that. And so the story, one of the examples or analogies that Murshid gave, he says, it's like we in our humanness are like a group of little girls, of 5 or 6 year old little girls that are sitting around together playing with their dolls, and one of the little girls says, I have the best mother. My mother is the best. She brushes my hair and makes it so pretty. And then another girl says, no, no, my mother is the best. My mother makes the most delicious food and always flavors things just right. And another little girl says, oh no, my mother is the best. When she tucks me in at night, she gives me the sweetest kiss and tells me a story and sings me a lullaby. And that we, in our humanness, arguing about the best God, are just like those little girls arguing about who has the best mother. And the answer is that the best mother is the mother that you love. The best mother is the one that you adore. The best mother is the one that your heart is happy to greet. And God is the same, and religion is the same, that each of us gets to shape our own God ideal and relate to the God that we can love and cherish, and that we can feel ourselves held by and nourished by. Okay. Here is a poem from Saint Teresa of Avila. In a way, the grain can feel. That's the name of the poem. In a way, the grain can feel. Remember, God, that we are the plants in your fields, so connected to the earth, that you know what would happen if you did not rain upon us, and if your light ceased to lift us from the ground and craft our bodies. How might we near you like the suns? Remember, God, to love us in a way our souls can taste and rejoice in. I bet you want to hear it again. Here it is again. In a way the grain can feel. Remember, God, that we are the plants in your fields, so connected to the earth, that you know what would happen if you did not rain upon us, and if your light ceased to lift us from the ground and craft our bodies. How might we near you like the suns? Remember, God, to love us in a way our souls can taste and rejoice in. We want to be loved in the way that we can feel and taste and rejoice in. Okay. One more little ditty. You ready? This is now I'm conflicted. No, we're gonna do it this way. This is a melody from Murshid Layla. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Rising in love. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Rising in love. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Rising in love. One more time. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Deeper, deeper into the heart of love. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Letting go into the mystery. Rising in love. Khabir.
Thank you for this beautiful song. Huh. It reminded me or brought up, strangely, if you want to let go some appreciation into the mystery of PayPal, you can do that. Sarah, if you might put in the address. Uh, we didn't mention it in the first 20 minutes, so it's a way of letting go, you know. So imagine there is a place in the middle of a village and people are standing there and it's quite a crowd, and a young guy is like shouting out, "I have the most beautiful heart of all hearts." And the people are looking at him, and there he is standing there, has this most beautiful heart in his hands, you know, red, and a beautiful red, shining, beating heart. "This is the most beautiful heart," he replied. He repeated. Then a voice out of the crowd said, "Well, you think this is a beautiful heart? I think mine is the most beautiful heart." And it was an old man, and he had a heart in front of him that was kind of, didn't had all like the same red spots. There were like different colors on it, holes and scars, and beating strongly and very rhythmically. And he said, "This is a beautiful heart." And the young man looked at the heart of the old man and said, "Well, look at your heart. It's not perfect. I mean, it's like it has scars and holes and everything. This is not a beautiful heart." And the old man began to speak, "You know, whenever I met a person, I took a piece of my heart and offered it to that person. And sometimes the other person gave me a piece of her or his heart to put it into my heart. Well, the pieces not always matched, so you have like little holes, and not everybody's heart has the same color, so I have like different colors. And sometimes I gave a piece of my heart away and I didn't get something back, so those are the bigger holes in my heart. But you know what? They let me be hopeful that one day maybe this person will give me a piece of her or his heart." So he was standing there and talking about the beauty of his heart and giving pieces of his heart away to other people and receiving pieces of their hearts. And the young man was standing there and he started to cry because he began to understand what the beauty of this heart is that the old man was carrying in his hands. And then the young man took a step forward, took a piece of his heart and handed it over to the old man. And the old man, he took it, placed it in his heart, took a piece of his heart and gave it to the young man. Now, the heart of the young man was not perfect anymore, but it was more beautiful than it has ever been before. So let me read some words to you from Khalil Gibran. It's the end of the book, The Prophet, from Khalil Gibran. It's about love, the passage about love. And the end of this passage goes something like this: "Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must needs have desires, let these be your desires: to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love in sweet surrender, in sweet surrender. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love in sweet surrender, in sweet surrender. In the chat window, you find the prayer Khatum. Let's end with that prayer. O thou who art the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the Lord of heaven and earth, open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly cometh from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness. Teach us thy loving forgiveness. Raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide, and send us the peace of thy divine spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. Amen. Yashakur, thank you so much for being with us today, for offering your being in love to love. Thank you so much. Sára, thank you.
Thank you, Khabir. And beautiful friends, we're going to stay on this Zoom for another 15 minutes for our daily prayer practice. You're welcome to linger if you'd like to join us for the next 15 minutes as well.